So everything that we saw in Ukraine was planned. Everything that we saw the Agenda 2030 was Agenda 20. It was all planned. It was all paid for. Barack Obama signed this country in 2015 with Samantha Power and Susan Rice onto Agenda 2030, which is a nation-state ending plan for global governance, technocracy, and totalitarian control on a global scale. And trillions of dollars after Obama signed that went into that being the end game. And all of a sudden Trump wins. So people have to understand the destruction, the coup against the sitting president of the United States, Donald Trump, was a global operation. Absolutely. Because they had global plans that they were not willing to allow Donald Trump to even look at. And so they kept him tied up in fake, phony investigations that they concocted, a 2-year special counsel with Andrew Weissman. And they knew that everything they were investigating was a lie.
Because they created the lie. They knew it was a lie because they created it all. And right. That's the incredible part. So, they count on the fact that the American people didn't know because the American people weren't part of that lie. And when you talk about that agenda, 2030, I mean, people have heard of it, but I would urge people to actually look it up and read Agenda 2030 because your description of it is actually the most significant description. It is a nation-ending plan. It is the end of sovereignty. It is the end of nations. It's the culmination of decades of the open borders activism of George Soros and his Open Society Foundations, which is in more than 125 countries around the world. And that's why you have all these organizations now, the Animal Rights Federation and so on and so on, who now have to have offices all over the world, right? It's why BLM, the moment they get any money and they get some fame, what do? They get a BLM Policy Foundation, then they get a BLM Global Foundation, and then you've got, and the same thing happens in this whole network, the Tides Foundation. They have their, then the Tides Foundation announces, we're going to be managing the BLM Global Foundation. What does that mean? You're going to be laundering money. Right. Laundering money and sharing resources with all of these people whose tax-free status is violated on a minute-by-minute basis. But that's okay because we've got the IRS sewn up and we're going to make sure that the IRS never touches you. God help you if you're not on our team because they're coming for you. Anyone who's not on our team, we're coming for you. And once we got Donald Trump out the way, there's nothing between them and everybody else, right? And that was their thing, is that when Trump won, it so upset that plan. And what people forget is that the president of the United States of America is not just the commander-in-chief. He is the diplomat-in-chief. And what you touched on was the fact that they were so angry. They have these foreign policy plans. They decide foreign policy and all these bills that they pass. They're like, there's an election coming up in Hungary 5 years from now. But we don't like the rise of these right-wing parties in Hungary. So we're going to allocate 5 years of resources of the United States government to making sure those groups don't rise to power. So it doesn't matter who comes into power in that time. We've already got a foreign policy that extends years beyond that election. And you're going to, and that's why they got so upset when they, what they kept saying about Trump. Remember, that's not how it's done. That's not how it's done. And so that's why this time around, one of the executive orders that Trump signed just after he came into office was for the foreign policy manual to be rewritten. And people hear that and they're like, that's so boring. I want to slip into a coma. But they don't understand that the reason it matters is that when Trump puts people into those agencies like the State Department, which sadly is just another arm of the intelligence agencies, but when he puts them in there, they can't get anything done because everybody says that's not how it's done. Get the manual. Get the manual. It's not there. No, we're not doing that. That's not allowed. No. It's not in the manual. That's not how it's always been done. So second time around, Trump realized we have to do something about this. People working for him realized, and you know what, Mel? No rewrite. 90 days they were supposed to rewrite the foreign policy manual, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And no one asked Marco Rubio about that.
Yeah. We have to. But the bigger thing about that, I was happy about, was because the USAID is not aid. It is international capture that they call international development. Mm-hmm. A lot of this stuff goes back to what that time period that I talk about. Even what you're saying about global governance. Like there was a time when I call it the Rockefeller model, because, you know, way back with the Reith Commission in the 50s, they were looking into the Rockefeller foundations, the Ford Foundation, Carnegie Institute.
They're all
as
still doing
the will of the people. Yeah.
All of them. Everyone you just listed, they're still the same players.
Yes. And then after they signed Agenda 2030, then you noticed everyone had a global foundation. Mm-hmm. You know, the Bill Melinda Gates, the Clintons, the Obamas, the McCains, everyone, the Romneys, they're all opening global foundations. Well, why? Because they were preparing for global governance. Against the will of the people. And you brought up something great that I always used to say. I would say to Donald Trump, you know, he'd say, they're not after me, they're after you, and I'm in the way. And I'd say, they're not after America, they're after the world, and America is in the way.
That's
our
true.
Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our DNA, our history, our unity was in the way. So they had to destroy that from the top down, because these people that voted for Donald Trump are not going to have what they want. We have already decided the future of America, and we are going to make that happen and destroy Trump as soon as possible. And honestly, they believe that by now he would have been in jail, and we would have had a very different country, because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden put out a document going into when they were still the candidates for the second term, a global compact and a global cooperation document that literally said in the first sentence that not only was the second Biden term going to lead the world to Agenda 2030, but that they were also going to finance it with $3 trillion to help everyone get in line and be ready so that everyone would achieve it. And that there was a whole document online, and I thought, oh my God, they're not even hiding it.